Hello and welcome to the very first video edition of MacStories Unwind. I'm John Voorhees, and with me is Federico Vitici. Hey, Federico.
Hello, John. It's good to see you while we record whatever Unwind has become.
Unwind has been through so many permutations, and the latest twist is video.
Yes.
It will, of course, continue as an audio-only podcast, too.
As
But
always.
Federico... As always, but Federico, we kind of like this video thing. We're starting to get the hang of it, and I thought we ought to bring MacStories Unwind into the fold. So you can find this, of course, if you're watching it already. You already have found it on YouTube, but if you're listening, you can go to the MacStories channel on YouTube, where you'll find MacStories Unwind in video, App Stories, NPC Next Portable Console, and Comfort Zone, all in video.
When you think about it, John, with MacStories, we are now trying to reach all the senses. You can read, you can watch.
We have to work on taste.
You can listen. We got to work on taste, smell, touching. I mean, how would you do it? But there are companies that are sort of prototyping like artificial taste and artificial smelling of
Smell-o-vision. Federico, I just came back from CES. I'm well aware that there are...
Oh, you saw them? Okay.
No, I actually didn't, but I have read about them in past years, especially with gaming. A lot of the gaming manufacturers are trying to bring this smell of PUBG into your living room, which
Soon
I don't
you will
think
be
is
able to smell MacStories in a browser near you.
It smells a little bit like pasta and Southern barbecue, I think.
Okay. So speaking of the South, so we're just going to do a regular episode of Unwind. You're just going to be able to watch the episode if you want to on YouTube. Yep. Otherwise, you can just listen as you always have. Speaking of the South, I see in our Unplugged segment, it just says, the South and snow.
Yes.
Okay.
So I am going to start off this video edition of MacStories Unwind by talking about the weather, which I think is usually death for podcasts. But I do want to talk about...
But here we do it with intention. That's what makes it different.
That is what makes it
It's not
different.
small talk. It's the main talk.
No, the main talk is the small talk. I think that is the definition of Unwind. But yes, I used to live in Chicago, as I'm sure many of you know, and we used to get extraordinary amounts of snow. And Federico can attest to the many photos I sent him over the years of me and Jennifer standing out on our driveway, shoveling feet of snow, like meters of snow.
You broke your knee to ice because you slipped on ice.
Well, yes. One of those times was not on the ice, but the most recent one was. That's why we moved. Okay. That was a big part of why we moved. But I have experience with snow, and I know how to get rid of snow. The South has no idea. They don't have the equipment. They don't have the experience. They've got nothing. Nothing, Federico.
Are you educating the people that?
No, I'm letting them just spin their wheels, quite literally, as they spin them in the snow.
Are you condescendingly judging them, like looking at them and be like,
I'm looking out the window and I am being a little judgmental. I will admit to looking out the window and just kind of shaking my head slowly.
These newbies, they have no idea.
Well, okay, so here's where we stand so far. Now, I mean, the thing is, we've been in North Carolina now for more than 2 years, and the first 2 winters here, it didn't snow at all. Okay. And, I love that. I mean, that doesn't bother me, but the fact of the matter is, it does get cold enough here to snow for roughly 6 weeks of the year, basically from right before Christmas through maybe the end of January. But, by Valentine's Day, we're seeing tulips coming out of the ground and blooming. So it's fairly temporary thing. But we're right in the middle of winter for North Carolina as we sit here in mid-January. And last Friday, they predicted snow, which people, and they predicted the snow would start at 3 p.m. on a Friday. Businesses closed down. People were sent home early from work. Turns out
panicking. Okay.
They were basically panicking. Jennifer was not sent home early, but and it didn't really matter because there was no snow until Saturday morning. Okay. And Saturday morning it snowed maybe half an inch. So that would be the equivalent of maybe 1 to 2 centimeters. Not a lot of snow, just a little bit of snow. And it was enough. It was cold enough that it stuck to the grass. It was cold enough that it stuck to the sidewalk, but not really to the road. A little bit on the road, but not much. And I didn't see a car all day as I sat in my
Wow.
office.
Okay.
That people stayed inside. They didn't go out much, and they don't have plows here. People don't own snow shovels, and they have very limited like salt to melt the snow. But when they do get their hands on the salt, the people in the South just like they put it everywhere. They put down so much salt they're going to kill the grass because they don't just sprinkle the salt onto the snow. They pile the salt onto the snow so it looks like the snow itself. It's so deep in salt that nothing could possibly be frozen on this salt. But it's not everywhere. And that was Saturday. And it got above freezing both Saturday and Sunday. So most of the snow was gone by Monday morning. However, all the schools were closed. And some of them were still closed on Tuesday because there were places where the melting snow had melted onto the road and then frozen overnight. And so it was a little slippery here and there. I will grant the Southerners that. But and they have no way to deal with it. I mean, the way you deal with it, if you have like a driveway and you do that deep shoveling that I would do in the past, is you clear it as best you can. The sun comes out, softens up what's left on the driveway over time. You go back out, you shovel it some more, and you progressively eliminate the snow on your driveway until the sun, with the help of the sun, it's all gone and it dries off. It's totally doable, but they just don't have the equipment here. So it never happens. And they're stuck with these patches of ice on the road that nobody knows how to drive in. Now, I explain this as a precursor to what might be Snowmageddon next week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because I was looking at Mercury this morning as I got up at the 10-day forecast. We're recording this on Wednesday. Next Wednesday, there is predicted to be a foot of snow.
Ooh.
This is like 10x, more than 10x what we got this past Saturday.
Oh, boy.
If we get a foot of snow, this whole area is going to shut down for, I would predict, 10 days.
Yeah, for sure.
The rest of the week into the next week.
How does it feel? How does it feel to be the most knowledgeable snow person in your area?
Well, I don't think I am, because I will say this. A lot of people
you got a snow buddy? You got a snow buddy?
No, there are just a lot of people who have moved here from places like New York, Chicago. A lot of people, they get sick, like me, they get sick of the cold. They come down here, but they don't want to go all the way to Florida for reasons, too hot, other reasons, and they end up in North Carolina. So here I am watching people suffer in the snow through my window. And I do like they do, though. I just, if it's going to snow a foot on Wednesday, I'll just stay in that day. Which is not that different from a normal day, I suppose.
I hope you're stocking up on groceries. And,
yes, we'll have to do that. Provisions.
Yes. Oh boy. Well, that's fun. Well, if you have to stay indoors, that provides plenty of opportunity to unwind.
Watch some movies, some TV,
and games. And I do have an unwind pick, although it's not strictly speaking a pick. It's more of a recommendation for many future picks. It's NVIDIA GeForce Now.
Good.
The streaming service. It's so good. And we just did a video on the MacStories channel where I showed off, and I'm showing it off here in the video version. It's my Lenovo Legion tablet. It's an Android tablet that I'm using just as a media consumption device, specifically for emulation. But this thing is also great for streaming NVIDIA GeForce Now, which I am personally using GeForce Now connected to my Steam account so that I can play some more graphically intensive games, like, for example, the new Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I can play my Steam copy of Indiana Jones on GeForce Now at maximum settings. I am streaming on the ultimate tier. In Europe, they give you an NVIDIA 4080. They don't give you 4090, they give you 4080.
It's the same in the US, I think.
Oh, okay. I can play at maximum setting with path tracing, not even ray tracing, path tracing, everything set to ultra, and it's still streaming at like 60 to 80 FPS. It's insane.
That's great.
And I can stream that on my media tablet, or I can stream that on my phone. I can stream it to my Vision Pro, and it looks great. But the way that GeForce Now is built, if later I want to play the same game on my Steam Deck, because I was streaming my Steam copy, I can just pick up my Steam Deck, play at much, much lower graphical settings, but thanks to the Steam Cloud, it's gonna continue my save. And so that combination of, if I don't care about graphics, if I want to play at a lower resolution, I can just use my Steam Deck. But if I want to have a little more performance, a little more eye candy, and I have a really good Wi-Fi and I want to stream, that combination of, it's your Steam account, but you're playing from the cloud, I think makes GeForce Now really fascinating. And you can do this with your Xbox account. I believe you can also connect your Epic Game Store account.
I think
probably.
so. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, I've been doing it with Game Pass. That's how I've been playing Indiana Jones. I've been playing it on my TV from time to time, but I've also been streaming it through GeForce Now onto my Retroid Pocket 5, which is a little bit small of a screen for some of the text and things. So I'm really looking forward to the AN Odin Portal coming soon. I think that's shipping soon, but we'll be talking about that more soon on NPC. It's, as long as you have good Wi-Fi, this is an extremely good way to play the games, because as Federico said, it does sync and the fidelity is just amazing. And some, if you're on an iPhone, if you're on an iPad, another way to do this, you've got some of the best screens around, and it really, those games really shine on those big bright screens.
Yeah. And that was my pick. What you got for me, John?
So I have a TV show. This is called Say Nothing. It's an FX series that's streaming on Hulu. So you'll find it in, it's an FX series streaming on Hulu, which is part of Disney. Yeah. How we got here, I don't know, but that's what it is. And Say Nothing is based on a true story. It's based on a book about the Troubles in Ireland. And the Troubles were the period of time where the IRA, the Irish Republican Army, was battling the British people, who are, I was going to say they occupy Northern Ireland. They actually, Northern Ireland is part of the UK. Yeah. And so the story starts in, I think, 1972 with the abduction of a woman who's a widow who has 10 children, and she's taken by the IRA and never seen again. And that sets the stage, kind of bookends the beginning of the show and the end of the show, where it traces a group of IRA people from the 70s through to roughly 1998, I want to say, 1999, that period of time. And it's a fascinating, interesting TV show. As I said, it's based on a true story. It really starts off feeling like a caper movie almost, where it focuses on two sisters who get involved with the IRA and when they're teenagers, doing bank robberies, later blowing up car bombs in London, all kinds of activity like that. And at times, it's kind of like one of those action movies. It's kind of a thrilling thing to follow these two young women as they're doing all this stuff in Northern Ireland. But then you kind of see the toll that it takes on them over the years as they get older. They get captured. They're put in prison in England. They then end up in prison in Ireland, and they look back at their lives, and they look back at what they were doing and the violence and all the killing, and have, I think, a lot of regrets about how it all turned out and what they accomplished over the decades of fighting for the Irish Republican Army. So, I thought it was both thought-provoking, I thought. As somebody who's very interested in Irish history, I found it kind of fascinating. I knew aspects of this story, but not all of this story. And it was very interesting to kind of see the portrayal of the people who were joining the IRA, the Catholics in Belfast, who were fighting Protestants, primarily Protestants and British people who are in Northern Ireland, and all the back and forth of the IRA trying to liberate and unify Ireland again, which, it's a great story, and it's interesting to follow these two women who were fairly major figures, I think, in the IRA. So there's a book. I will put a link to in the show notes to the book. It's a very lengthy book. It's like a 500-page book with hundreds of footnotes, because the reason this story came out was there was a project done at Boston College where they did an oral history of the IRA and what was going on during the Troubles. And they promised to the people who they interviewed that they would not release these interviews until after they died. So there would be no recriminations. And a lot of them have passed away at this point. And these stories are coming out. And that's what the book was based on, and which became part of this nine episode series, which I really enjoyed. I'd say this is, in the last couple of years, this is up in the top 3 of my favorite shows I've watched.
Nice. Okay.
Finally, Federico, I think we need to get back to our Unwind deals because we did a little bit of this at the end of 2024, and I think people really enjoyed it because we have our eye on Apple TV and the various deals from time to time. And I saw a good one the other day. It's How I Met Your Mother, and I thought of you because
nice.
You're a big fan of How I Met Your Mother, and this is a bundle of the entire 9 seasons, and instead of normally it's $75, it's just $35 right now. So
nice.
If Federico has talked about this show on Unwind before at least a couple of times,
it's one of my favorite shows of all time. Yes.
Yeah, it's a great sitcom. That's just one of those that's, especially if you're stuck in the snow this next week, like I may be, sitting down with How I Met Your Mother is a good way to get past the time while you're stuck inside. So check it out. I'll have a link in the show notes. And with that, Federico, I think we are finished with our very first MacStories Unwind on video.
Nice.
You can find the 2 of us over at MacStories.net. We are also writing over at Club MacStories. Go to plus.club to learn more about how you can get even more of the great stuff we do at MacStories. And he and I are both on other podcasts. You can find us on App Stories. You can also find us on NPC, Next Portable Console. And we even do the occasional YouTube video that is not related to a podcast, like a recent one that we just did, all about our setups and the things that have changed in the last, I don't know, maybe 2-3 months, something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it for today's show. I'll talk to you later, Federico.
Ciao, John.
Bye-bye. All right, good luck with